What is going on, guys? These are the top 25 NFL players that are under the age of 25. Before we get started, please take a moment to subscribe and turn on notifications, as this is a brand new YouTube channel, as well as like the video if you want to help the channel grow. But also, if you happen to come up with an idea of a ranking list that you would like to see conducted on this channel, let me know in the comment section down below and I will give you proper credit if we use your idea. In addition, you could also go to my Instagram page, Flight Microphone, and suggest your idea there. Now let's start with the 25th best player under the age of 25, and that is Baker Mayfield. Now, I know a lot of you guys may be thinking this could be a little bit harsh, but Baker had a phenomenal rookie year after being the #1 overall pick in the 2018 NFL Draft, throwing for 27 touchdowns, 14 interceptions, and a completion percentage of 64%. However, the narrative surrounding Baker Mayfield is very interesting. What people are saying about Mayfield is that he only produces when people are counting him out. He's the greatest underdog ever, but once he's no longer an underdog, he begins to stagnate. And he showed that in year 2. Despite the acquisition of Odell Beckham Jr. and several defensive players like Olivier Vernon and Demarius Randall and Sheldon Richardson, Baker's team went 6-10. He threw 22 touchdowns to 21 interceptions and got both his general manager and head coach fired, although not directly, but the result of the season was just that. He still remains a high upside player, but his regression lands him at the bottom of the list, considering the fact that he had one good year and one bad year thus far in the NFL. Number 24 is Chris Jones, who is an extremely underrated defensive tackle for the Kansas City Chiefs. In 2018, he was able to nab 15.5 sacks for the Kansas City Chiefs and was finally named to a Pro Bowl last year after grabbing 9 more. The Chiefs would finally win a Super Bowl, and a lot of it was due to the pressure Jones was able to create on the interior. Number 23 is Todd Gurley, and I know this might be a little bit harsh for a player that was considered to be a top fantasy football option for many years up until this year, because Todd Gurley was an absolutely remarkable player until the Los Angeles Rams Super Bowl run. From the 2015 to 2018 NFL seasons, he put up 3 1,000-yard rushing seasons and combined for 46 touchdowns from rushing alone. Gurley was considered to be one of the greatest scrimmage halfbacks until the Los Angeles Rams 2019 Super Bowl run, which during the NFC divisional round, lingering injuries would hamper Todd Gurley. He wasn't really the same player last year, as his yards per carry dipped from 4.9 to 3.8, and his best years may be behind him. Considering the LA Rams recently gave him a contract extension, Gurley may be doing more harm than good in LA, and as a result, he has been the subject of trade rumors as late. Number 22 is Tre'Davious White. In his first 3 years in the NFL, this shutdown corner has become one of the NFL's premier defensive backs, most famously shutting down Amari Cooper this past year on Thanksgiving when the Dallas Cowboys faced the Buffalo Bills. In his 3-year career, Tre'Davious White already has 12 interceptions to go with 43 passes defended, and was named a Pro Bowler and a first-team All-Pro this past season. At number 21, we have Leighton Vander Esch, who dominated in his rookie season with 140 combined tackles and 2 interceptions in just 11 games. He did slightly regress this past season due to injury concerns, but at the age of 24, I expect him to be a focal point of the Dallas Cowboys' future for many years to come, assuming that he could stay healthy. At number 20, I have Jared Goff, and I don't think there's a harder player to rank in the entire NFL more than Jared Goff, because in his rookie year under Jeff Fisher, he vastly underperformed, and in his first 2 years under Sean McVay, he would throw for 60 touchdowns to just 19 interceptions for over 8,000 passing yards. He was able to reach 4,600 passing yards this past year as well, but threw 22 touchdowns to 16 interceptions. Now, regression's a normal thing in the NFL, and I have a feeling that Todd Gurley had a huge hand to play in this. With the running game somewhat neutralized, it's more difficult for Goff to get himself into favorable play-action matchups. Nonetheless, he remains one of the league's brightest future stars, despite being a little inconsistent at times. At number 19, I have Dalvin Cook. And the reason for this is, after being hampered with injury issues for the first 2 years of his career, Dalvin Cook finally flourished with a 1,000-plus yard rushing season. His career yards per carry remains at 4.6, and if he is able to stay healthy, the Minnesota Vikings will have a terrifying offense this year and remain a threat to compete for the Super Bowl. At number 18, I have MARSHON LATTIMORE, who is a part of a remarkable 2017 Saints NFL draft class that also yielded Ryan Ramczyk and Alvin Kamara. In 3 years in the NFL, he's recorded 8 interceptions, 44 passes defended, and has 2 Pro Bowls under his belt. At 17, I have NGAKOUE, which I probably butchered his name, and to be honest, I've actually slept on this player until I did research for this video. But his story is absolutely incredible because Yannick was never expected to dominate in the NFL. He just got his opportunity when the number 3 overall pick in the 2016 NFL draft, who was supposed to be an edge rusher for the Jacksonville Jaguars, Dante Fowler, went down with an injury for the entire season. So in his first year, Yannick made the most of his opportunity and recorded 8 sacks in his first year, then 12 sacks in his second year, 9.5 sacks in his third year, and 8 sacks this past year. The Jaguars were happy to move on from Dante Fowler, and Yannick was able to be named to the Pro Bowl once and is a staple of the Jacksonville Jaguars defensive line. Now, the scary thing is he literally is going to be 25 years old going into his 5th NFL season, and he's just getting better with experience. At number 16, I have Kyler Murray, and Kyler Murray is very hyped up for his sophomore season, but I want to just give you an idea of how incredible Kyler Murray is because you probably didn't hear much about him in his rookie season. He had a fairly pedestrian first season. He threw for 20 touchdowns and 12 interceptions on an offense that featured Larry Fitzgerald and multiple wide receivers who weren't in the NFL last season. He had a 64% completion percentage and rushed for 540 yards, and this is despite having one of the worst offensive lines in the entire NFL. Just imagine what he's going to do in year 2 with DeAndre Hopkins recently being traded to the Arizona Cardinals and the Cardinals being in a good position in the NFL draft to either draft a good offensive lineman to protect Kyler Murray or reunite Kyler Murray with his former Oklahoma wide receiver in CeeDee Lamb, who's also considered to be the best wide receiver in the NFL draft. Yikes. At number 15, we have Amari Cooper, and in 5 NFL seasons, Amari Cooper has had 4 seasons where he has had over 1,000 yards receiving. The only year where he had less than that was in his final season for the Oakland Raiders. A trade to the Dallas Cowboys not only revitalized his career, but also saved the Dallas Cowboys season in 2018. Cooper just signed a 5-year, $100 million contract with the Dallas Cowboys, and he deserves each and every cent of it. At number 14, we have Darius Leonard of the Indianapolis Colts, and up until recently, I viewed the Indianapolis Colts as an offensive team, but Darius Leonard and Malik Hooker changed all of that. Since being drafted in 2018, Leonard established himself as one of the best linebackers in the entire NFL, attaining 284 combined tackles, 7 interceptions, and a touchdown in his first 2 years in the NFL. Leonard was named a Pro Bowler last year and has plenty more football to play. At number 13, we have Jamal Adams, who's an absolute monster, and he has been a huge boon to the New York Jets defense. In his first 3 years, he was able to force 6 fumbles and recover 4 of them. He has 1 defensive touchdown and has 273 combined tackles. He was named to the Pro Bowl once and is considered to be the best safety in the game at the young age of 24. At number 12, I have probably one of the most lovable players on this list, and that is JUJU Smith-Schuster. After a rookie season that saw him notch 917 yards in just 7 starts, JUJU almost doubled that in his sophomore year with 1,426 receiving yards and 7 touchdowns. Now, he took a step back this past year, but I think any wide receiver would if they had Duck Hodges or Mason Rudolph throwing to them as opposed to Ben Roethlisberger. JUJU Smith-Schuster is considered to be one of the league's brightest young stars, and bro, how could you not love that smile? At number 11, we have Jalen Ramsey, and if you ask me, Jalen Ramsey is probably my favorite defensive player in the NFL right now, with the swagger that reminds me of a primetime Deion Sanders. Ramsey is a notorious trash-talking corner that has quickly established a reputation as one of the league's best shutdown cornerbacks. His numbers don't exactly do him justice because quarterbacks do their absolute best to avoid his side of the field. In 4 NFL seasons, Jalen Ramsey has averaged 10 interceptions, 1 touchdown, and 49 passes defended. He's also a first-team All-Pro and a 3-time Pro Bowler. At number 10, we have Myles Garrett, and unfortunately, many of us associate Myles Garrett with a horrific incident that occurred with Mason Rudolph. Most of us tend to forget that he was the number 1 overall pick in the 2017 NFL Draft and is considered to be a cornerstone of the Cleveland Browns rebuild, and he's got the track record to back it up. In only 3 years in his career, Garrett already has 30.5 sacks, including 10 sacks that came last year in just 10 games. He's only 24 years old and has the potential to be one of the NFL's best edge rushers. At number 9, I have Lamar Jackson. Now, before you destroy me in the comment section, you have to hear me out, because despite how good he is, I've seen players like Lamar Jackson tear up the league before and then disappear. And as a result of that, I remain a pseudo-skeptic. I feel like I need to see his performance in the regular season once again, and to see an ability to lead his Ravens through the NFL playoffs before I rank him in the top 5. But I am a huge believer in him, and I am rooting for him to succeed. Bear in mind that Lamar Jackson's only 23 years old and is coming off of a year where he threw 36 touchdowns, 6 interceptions, and for 3,127 passing yards. But he also added 7 touchdowns and 1,206 rushing yards just by rushing. That's absolutely terrifying, especially if he is a threat to do that on a consistent basis. The only reason why Lamar Jackson is ranked number 9 as opposed to in the top 5 is because I just need to see him do this more than once. I've grown up in the RG3 and Vince Young eras. I need to see consistency before I rank him even higher. Now, let me know in the comment section where you think Lamar Jackson deserves to be ranked, because I have a feeling a lot of you guys disagree with me here. At number 8, I have Ezekiel Elliott, and I feel like Cowboys fans are probably going to burn me at the stake for putting Zeke over here, considering the fact that Zeke has had a 1,000-yard rushing season in every year of his career, except a 2017 season where he had to sit for 6 games due to a suspension, and even in that year, he rushed for 983 yards. He also does it extremely efficiently, as his career yards per carry average is 4.6, and for his career, he averages 96.5 yards per game. Zeke is slowly becoming a factor in the receiving game as well, as in the last 2 seasons, he almost combined for 1,000 yards through the air. In his 4-year career, Zeke already has 40 touchdowns and 5,405 rushing yards. At number 7, I have Nick Bosa. Some of you guys might think this is a little high for a player that only notched 9 sacks in his rookie year. But Nick Bosa lived up to the hype and was a culture-changing defensive end for the 49ers. The tone he set on defense was the reason why the San Francisco 49ers were able to make it to the Super Bowl. However, he was not able to beat out Big Bro, because at number 6, we have Joey Bosa. I feel like at some point we're going to see Nick and Joey try to team up with one another, but for now we have to appreciate each one of them separately. This past season, Joey put up 11.5 sacks, but for his career, he's put up 40 sacks in 4 years. At number 5, I have Deshaun Watson, and I can't help but feel bad for Deshaun Watson. He is such an incredible talent, but his front office, and possibly his head coach, seem extremely incompetent. I know that might be a little bit harsh, but that DeAndre Hopkins trade was the final straw for me. Deshaun Watson set the league on fire in his rookie year with 19 touchdowns to 8 interceptions, and that was in 6 games before he tore his ACL. He rebounded the year after with a 4,165-yard season, throwing 26 touchdowns to 9 interceptions, but was sacked 62 times. That was the most in the league. This kind of reminds you of another quarterback whose career was destroyed by the Houston Texans. Last year, the Houston Texans traded 2 first-round picks to the Miami Dolphins for Laramie Tunsil, and Watson ended up getting sacked 44 times. He also threw 26 touchdowns to 12 interceptions last year. It's sad to see that the Houston Texans finally have a game-changing talent at quarterback, but it really appears as if they don't know how to take care of him or how to surround him with weapons. My biggest fear is Deshaun Watson turns into the next coming of Andrew Luck. I really pray to the football gods that I'm wrong. At number 4, we have Alvin Kamara, and nobody thought Kamara would be this good. Alvin Kamara was so good that he completely changed the way running backs were used from 2017 and on. Originally thought of just a check down halfback, the Saints began to check the ball down to Kamara, and good things would happen when they would. So they began featuring Kamara in actual plays that required him to catch the ball, in screen passes and other plays, and eventually Alvin Kamara would average over 1,500 yards from scrimmage in his first 2 years. In 3 years in the NFL, Kamara has over 4,476 yards from scrimmage, and is a member of the New Orleans Saints triplets with Drew Brees and Michael Thomas. At number 3, we have Saquon Barkley, a player that completely took the league by storm in his rookie season. Unfortunately, the New York Giants have 2 issues. One is offensive line isn't really doing as well. 2 is they're in the midst of a full-scale rebuild. However, whenever Saquon Barkley hits the open field, he is one of the most electrifying talents to watch, and I cannot wait to see him take the next step after hopefully a better offseason for the New York Giants. At number 2, I have Christian McCaffrey, a player who has over 5,400 yards from scrimmage in just 3 years in the NFL and has 24 touchdowns to go with 2,920 yards rushing thus far. Christian McCaffrey just completely took over the league last year. He also had 1,005 receiving yards to go with 1,387 rushing yards last year, had 15 touchdowns rushing and 4 touchdowns receiving. Wow. I honestly can't wait to see the future for this guy because he's only 23 years old and his career is just getting started, which means our number 1 player that is under the age of 25. I'm sure no one is surprised by this, but it's obviously Patrick Mahomes. And there's no question here. Patrick Mahomes has had an incredible career and has done things that I didn't think was even possible, throwing for 50 touchdowns in his first year under the helm for the Kansas City Chiefs. And in his second year, he threw for 26 touchdowns and 5 interceptions, but he led them to a Super Bowl. Patrick Mahomes is only 24 years old, and I cannot wait to see this guy's career wind out because I feel like he could actually, if his career lives up to the potential that it has, he could completely change the way we view football quarterback and what quarterbacks can do. Let me know if you guys agree with this list or if you would have done anything different. As always, I'm your boy Microphone, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.